It's Business Incorporated. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chimeze Obi-Wago. Coming up today, UNICEF says poorer nations to receive distribution of COVID-19 vaccine by 2021. JP Morgan favors South African domestics over gold and tech stocks. Plus, Alliance Global Corporate and Specialty launches its cyber risk trends report, warns that internal failures are the most frequent cause of cyber claims. We'll begin with the intraday market numbers, and the main index in Nigeria is down marginally by 0.01%. Well, that was at intraday, not being able to build a Thursday's bullish sentiment. It was a similar sentiment in South Africa's JSE index was down by 0.34%. Elsewhere in Egypt, the market is closed today but ended Thursday trading session negative at 0.79%. On the flip side, Kenya closed Thursday session up by 0.03%. In the meantime, the Middle Eastern markets are closed for the weekend but ended the week mixed on Thursday. The Qatari index shed a bit of 0.13%, while Saudi Arabia's market was higher marginally by 0.05%. In the UAE, Abu Dhabi's main index lost 0.34%, while Dubai's index gained 0.28%. European stocks were lower on Friday morning amid thin trading volumes as investors monitored vaccine news and fresh Chinese data. Let's join Ashutosh Pandey on the floor of the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Good afternoon, Ashutosh. Ashutosh, good to see you. Well, AstraZeneca is planning a further trial of its COVID-19 vaccine. That's after doubts about initial results showing the shot to be 90% effective in a test where participants mistakenly received a half dose followed by a full dose. What is the company trying to achieve here?
I can barely hear you.
Yeah, I was asking about the AstraZeneca's report today. What is the company trying to achieve here?
Oh, well, yes, it just wants to confirm that the 90% efficacy rate was no fluke. We have to remember that that efficacy rate was achieved when a mistaken dosing was actually tried on just 3,000 people, and it came up with 90% efficacy, whereas the rest 9,000 people were given the full dosing and the efficacy rate was somewhere just a little above 60%. So the company wants to ensure that this is not a fluke, because there has been a lot of controversy around it. There's been a lot of criticism as to how both the data points could be mixed and put together as a 70% average efficacy. That's one of the main things that the company hopes to achieve. And there's also this element of regaining trust, because it's of paramount importance when it comes to vaccines. I or you wouldn't like to take a vaccine which hasn't been proven to be effective. At this point of time, the company feels that the vaccine is effective, and it may have, by chance, by mistake, as the CEO calls it, the serendipity, he has actually managed to find the correct dosing, perhaps first half, and then a full dosing a month later. That's a dose later, and that is perhaps the way to actually effectively deal with the virus. So that's what the company at this point of time is trying to achieve.
So what are you hearing about how this will affect the approval process for the vaccine? Yeah, Ashutosh, if you can hear me, what are you hearing about how this development will affect the approval process of the vaccine?
I feel it's just going to complicate the approval process, the vaccine rollout, especially in the US and in the European Union. But elsewhere, I don't feel there's going to have much of an impact. We've got to remember that the Oxford vaccine is actually the big hope in terms of reaching out to the wider public around the world. It's cheap, it's easier to distribute and store. It does not need any fancy cooling equipment. The cold chain can be just the normal cold chain that we we need for vaccines. And that's the reason why I don't really see this having much of an impact. Firstly, because it has been proven to be effective, it has been proven to be safe. That's the first part. If you look at what the US FDA had said right at the beginning, that even a vaccine with a 50% efficacy rate would be good enough to actually fight against the virus. Here, even the full dosing did manage to clock efficacy rate of 62%. So that's good enough. And that's the reason why UK is actually going ahead and looking into the approval process. It is trying to even bypass the European Union, and it sees the vaccine to be a big hope. It's the same case with India. India is actually saying that it is going to consider the full dosing, which even came up with a 62% efficacy rate. It feels that that's good enough to at least begin with, because that's where the manufacturing had started. Advanced manufacturing, the processes have been put in place, the delivery mechanism has been established. So it's very difficult to actually look away from this, though the benchmark has been set higher by Moderna and Pfizer and BioNTech, but 62% is good enough efficacy rate.
In another development, Poland and Hungary have vowed to veto the European Union's spending plans. How concerning is their refusal to back down for the European investors? Ashutosh, yes, I'm talking about Poland and Hungary refusing, vowing to veto the Europeans' spending plans. How concerning is it?
I mean, the markets are actually looking at those developments with caution, and there is a lot of concern. Remember, when the spending plan was approved in the first place, when they were agreed upon, 1.8 trillion euros, there was actually jubilation across the markets that was seen as that the EU has stood together. They've actually come closer to being a close-knit entity, and even there was some sort of a debt union that was being established. But now, yes, with Poland and Hungary actually sticking to their point that they wouldn't like to have this funding program linked to rule of law, which they feel is like an infringement upon their sovereignty. It's become a little complicated, because it's really there's no easy way out now, considering that countries like Netherlands and all will not be very forthcoming about reaching a compromise there, because they don't want to dilute this provision of the rule of law, and they feel that it's like the core values of EU are at stake there. And we don't see any U-turn from Hungary and Poland. So it's really going to be complicated, and that's the reason why the negotiators and the EU officials for now are actually looking towards working whatever best solution can be reached, which is very difficult at this point, but they do not want to escalate the matters further, and because that would mean that perhaps the budget is being passed by bypassing the other two countries, and that's not where they want to get going forward.
Ashutosh, we appreciate your time always. Enjoy the rest of the week. In the UK, comments by EU Brexit negotiator Michael Barnier have spooked UK investors who sent the FTSE 100 further into the red in early trade. Let's talk to Juliana in London. Hello, Juliana. Good afternoon. Here we are again. Well, we talked about Brexit trade talks in the morning. EU Brexit negotiator Michael Barnier reportedly told a closed-door meeting of the bloc's national diplomats that he was not able to say whether a new trade deal will be ready in time. What are you hearing, and how is this driving the markets?
Well, we're at the Brexit endgame, and the clock is ticking very, very quickly. What we know is that Michel Barnier, the EU chief negotiator, is on his way to London right now. He had previously said that he wouldn't be taking a Eurostar if he didn't think a deal would be done. So we can sit and wait and hope and see what this weekend's last round of negotiations has to bring. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has also been speaking to British press. He said he believes believes a deal is there to be done, but it's up to the EU. And really now a lot of commentators are suggesting that Britain are playing a poker face, that they want to push it right up until the last minute to make sure that the EU does concede. And it does appear as if that's perhaps what they may be doing. We wasn't expecting Michel Barnier to be arriving today, and he is on his way. As I mentioned earlier this morning, there are three main sticking points. One being fisheries, fishing, huge deal for member states within the EU. Britain's fishing waters are abundant. They want the exact same access to them, and Britain are saying no. So it's just interesting. It's going to be interesting to see who concedes on that one. The level playing field is also a huge issue for Europe. Europe do not pick up or generally assist with some of their biggest companies, and they do not want British firms to have a one-man up ship on European firms by the British government getting involved. That's an area of concession and governance. There are so many rules and laws that are stated by the EU High Court that affect Britons. Once we're out at the end of the year, who is going to be governing these rules? So there are so many. Of course, there's that internal market bill as well, that new piece of legislation which was ripped up by Boris Johnson, the Northern Ireland Protocol. There are several main areas of concession. Can they get it done in time? Bearing in mind, there are very many different languages that if a deal is done, it would have to be translated. The deal would have to be ratified. Each and every single member state of the 27 would have to agree. Time is ticking, but I believe it is likely to be done, but who knows? Please don't keep me on that. Let's have a look at the numbers, though. The FTSE All-Share is down at intraday by 0.75%. The FTSE 100 is down by 0.53%. And the FTSE 250 is down by over 1%. In currencies, the British pound is down 0.13% against the US dollar, down against the euro by 0.23%, and down on the Japanese yen at intraday by 0.33%.
Well, that meeting is scheduled for this weekend, so we'll keep an eye on it and see how it plays out. And in a further bad news for the high street, there is a report that the owner of brands including Topshop and Miss Selfridge is preparing to appoint administrators from Deloitte as early as next week. What do you know about this?
Well, it's a major story if true, and we could actually go as far as saying this: if the Arcadia Group does fall into administration, then this would probably be the biggest retail casualty that Britain has seen. The Arcadia Group, extremely popular umbrella retail company. They own the likes of Topshop, as you said, Miss Selfridge's, Burton's, Dorothy Perkins, Wallis, the list goes on. And for several years, even decades, they have dominated the high street. Anybody that's been to the UK, London, Oxford Street, Topshop is a symbolic retail sector, and if it does go, it will have vast consequences for the entire high street, purely because they are so dominant. There are suggestions that the £30 million bailout that they asked of lenders was rejected earlier this week. It's Sky News that are reporting these speculations that as soon as Monday morning they could be bringing in administrators. And I think why this is dominating British news today is because the Arcadia Group employ over 15,000 people, and that's just staff working on the shop floor. That doesn't include the thousands of people that they've got working in head office. Also, the chairman, Sir Philip Green, he is become a very polarised, embattled CEO over the past couple of years. He's been brought to task about many what have been alleged as dodgy deals on the high street and not paying people's pensions with the BHS, which was a huge department store that shut down. So it's pretty murky. But again, just to emphasise, if indeed the Arcadia Group does go, that will be a massive blow to the UK high street, and particularly to this old school fashion fashion, which many of us have been used to, because now fast fashion with the likes of Pretty Little Thing, Boohoo.com, Primark has slowly taken over these traditional retailers that, just several years ago, they had a direct monopoly on Britain's high streets.
Juliana, it's Black Friday, and I remember you told me you're going to shop for the girls today. So, you do that. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and happy Black Friday.
Thank you, Jimmy.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, Alliance Global speaks on its cyber risk trends report. Just stay with us. There has been a surge in cases of cybercrime across the globe, especially as most organizations embrace remote working due to the coronavirus pandemic. Recently, business insurer Alliance Global Corporate and Specialty launched the Alliance Cyber Risk Trends Report, which found out that malware and ransomware incidents are reported to have increased by more than a third since the start of 2020. The group head Special Risks Alliance Nigeria, Adewale Adene, joins us now to shed more light on that report. Thank you very much, Mr. Adene, for joining us on the show.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Well, just 7 years ago, cyber risk ranked very low in your risk barometer. Today, it ranks either near or even at the top of seemingly every risk poll conducted. What changed the narrative?
Thank you very much. Alliance Risk Barometer is a survey conducted by Alliance Global Corporate and Specialty to identify potential risks that companies all over the world can face in the next 12 months. So this survey has respondents from over 2,700 insurance experts and companies across the world. And the purpose is to highlight that what are the potential risks that companies across the globe are likely to face. So over the last 7 years, cyber risk was one of the identified risks which ranked 15 7 years ago. But as we speak today, in the last report that was conducted, cyber risk has moved to the top of the risk, which means more companies in the world now are going to face the risk of cyber crime. And what actually changed the narratives? How come that a risk that was ranked 15 about 7 years ago is now ranking number one across the globe? There's no doubt of the reliance and dependence on global internet services now. So due to the reliance on global internet services, so we've had incidences where companies are attacked by hackers for the main reason of breaching into the data and steal information from companies around the world. Aside that, we also have an increase in ransomware. We have an increase in malware, also we have an increase in phishing. Aside these external factors, even internally, we have incidents like human error or system failure, which make data breaches a daily occurrence all over the world now. Also, the inability to access data or services can also have significant impact on the revenue and services provided by companies all over the world. But more importantly is the outbreak of COVID-19, which equally changed the narrative of the working condition. Now, employees more likely and all over the world now are working from home. When you work from home, the company's internet and information technology infrastructure is now more exposed to attack by hackers. And because of this, company exposure to cybercrime has actually increased all over the world. And let me just quickly tell you this, that the average cost of cybercrime has increased to 72% over the last 5 years, and that's worrisome for insurance companies across the world.
Yeah, so Mr. Adene, what solution is Alliance proffering to dealing with this particular issue of cyber attacks, particularly now that a lot of work is done via internet because of the COVID-19, and particularly as it concerns Nigeria?
Of importance is that employers and employees should work together to increase their internet and cyber resilience. But aside being an insurance company, we've developed a product called Cyber Liability Insurance Product. In the event that all the system architecture set up by a company actually failed or eventually breached or compromised. So as an insurance company, we've developed a product so that at the end of the day, if there are losses, such financial losses will be taken care of by the insurance company. So we provided that solution as an insurance entity.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Adewale Adene, Group Head, Special Risks Alliance, Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
UN agency UNICEF says developing countries will receive distribution of COVID-19 vaccine by 2021. The body plans to work with over 350 airlines and freight companies to deliver nearly 2 billion COVID-19 vaccines to developing countries next year. And this comes after a study by the Global Health Innovation Center, which discovered that high-income nations and some middle-income countries have secured 3.8 billion doses in purchasing agreements for COVID-19 vaccine. So far, Africa has recorded 2.1 million COVID-19 cases and 51,033 fatalities. And it may be time to drop gold and tech stocks and buy into South Africa's domestically focused stocks. This is according to JP Morgan Chase & Co. The broker upgraded its view on South Africa equities to overweight from underweight this week, saying the global value trade driven by faster economic growth, stronger commodity prices, a weaker dollar, and fewer trade tensions will be the incoming U.S. administration will benefit domestic stocks such as banks and value cyclicals at the expense of gold and tech firms. The broker expects locally focused stocks will also get a boost from incrementally positive news flow on the country's reform processes. Financials, general retailers, and industrials, which have all fallen in 2020, are expected to continue re-rating in 2021. And that's it on the program for today, and of course, for the week. Thank you for being part of it. Enjoy the weekend.